Good morning, guys. Today I'm going to be working on my daughter's 2009 Toyota Corolla. I just did an oil change on it this morning. That's pretty straightforward and basic. I don't think I need to go over that with you. But what I'm going to do today is we're going to remove the throttle because she's having a little bit of an issue at idle. Sometimes it'll stumble a little bit. So I'm going to remove the throttle. There's an idle air control valve on there that I want to clean out. And I think that's going to help straighten this thing out. So I got the top cover off the engine already. We're going to get this hose out of the way. We'll get the throttle unbolted. And then I'll show you how to disassemble that and clean that. Okay? Alright, so first thing we're going to do is take this clamp off of the throttle. This has a 10 millimeter nut on it. So sometimes you might have to spray these down with some WD-40 or something to loosen them up, especially if they've been on there a while. So you're going to get that all loosened up. And then this piece here, you're going to pinch this hose off, get that out of the way, and then we're going to disconnect that. That's for your PCV system. Pry that off of there. Okay, just disconnect that hose there. And then we'll see if we can just pry this off. The other thing is we can try taking this other nut off too. Might make it a little bit easier. Okay. Okay, once we have the hose off, then we're going to take off the throttle itself. There's a couple of coolant hoses here, there's another hose here. So we're going to want to remove these. And it can go out of the way. That off. Pull that clamp off. Pull that clamp off. Now when you take these two hoses off, like I said, there's going to be coolant in there, so you want to have a couple of bolts that you can shove in the hoses just to keep the coolant from leaking. Sorry about the lighting in here, guys. It's a rainy day, and I'm trying to do this in the garage so I don't have to stand out in the rain and do it. So let me get these two hoses off, and then we'll plug them up. Okay, so now you can see I have the two hoses disconnected. I have them plugged off with bolts. That way the coolant's not leaking everywhere. Let's see, let's get that hose off. Okay, there's nothing in that one, so I don't have to worry about plugging that off. Alright, there is a connector over here. You're going to push that tab. This stuff has probably been touched since the car was new, so everything's a little bit tight and stuck. Okay, so I'm going to take that one plug off there. And I think there is another plug, but we can probably see that once we get this all disconnected. Okay, next thing is we have to take off these bolts. And that's very nice. They all came off nice and easy, like that. Okay, all the bolts are out. Now this should slide right off of here, which it does. Okay, I thought there might have been another connector. Some of them I saw had a different connector on here, but there's your throttle. This is your, oh, where is it? Thought that was the idle air control there. That's all riveted on, so that's not coming apart. Alright, so let's get this thing cleaned up here. Okay, so if you look inside here, you can see this black carbon soot and whatnot built up in there. So that can contribute to a poor idle. This butterfly here is supposed to seat flat, but have a very slight gap so that air can breathe at idle. And if it's all built up with carbon, I can see right where it seats, there's some black carbon there. It's going to block that air passage, so it's not going to allow it to breathe properly. So we'll get this thing all cleaned up, and hopefully that will get it running a little better. There is a little screen here also with a gasket. Let's see if I can get this out and we'll clean this all up. Okay, that pops right out of here. And we'll get that cleaned up. And then we'll wipe all around here, clean this all out, and we'll put it back together and hopefully she runs a little bit better. Alright, so we're just going to take a little carbon choke cleaner here. Now that's not really something you want to do with the car running, because you don't want to be sucking all that into the intake. So it's better to take this off and do it. Alright, we're just going to kind of wipe this all out in here. And then you want to open the butterfly and get right where it seats, because that's going to be the most important part. I'm just going to spray a little more in here and let it sit for a minute. Let that work in. And then you want to clean the blades on the butterfly also. Something to pry that open so you can clean it. important to clean. I don't know if you can see this. It's right down in here where this black is. That's the stuff that's going to give you problems right there, where it's trying to seat on here. Alright, so we're going to try and get this all cleaned up and get this thing to breathe a little bit better at idle, and we'll see if that helps. Alright, I'm going to finish cleaning this up, then we'll get it back together. Alright, so I got it cleaned up about as good as I can get it. So we're going to put this piece back in here. Clean up that surface, cleaned up inside there, so that's all nice and clean. And we'll take our throttle. So, like I was saying, some of these have a idle air solenoid on here. I'm not sure why this one doesn't. I guess it's maybe a newer style. But I cleaned out as much as I could. And hopefully that'll be good enough. This is not too big a deal to do. Over the years you will get carbon buildup, and periodically you should go in here and clean this, because like I say, when the butterfly is closed, it's a very small gap that allows air in and idle, and if that gap is filled up with carbon, then obviously you're not going to get airflow through there. So by cleaning that, hopefully that will take care of that issue. So the problem that she was having was, it runs great, but sometimes when you come to a stop, the idle will just kind of sputter a little bit and then straighten out. Or if you put a load on it, like if you turn the steering wheel while you're at idle, sometimes that could cause it to do it also. So, like I say, she runs great. I just want to see if I can get rid of that little hiccup, and then she'll run perfect. Okay, we're just going to snug these down. We're not going to go too crazy on them. This stuff is all white metal, so it doesn't take much to break it. Okay, that should be good. Alright, we just got to put the pieces back together. So this hose goes on here. We'll put the clamp back. Okay. And this one goes down here. Bottom one, put that clamp back on. And I'll put this top one back on. We only lost a few drops of coolant, so I'm not worried about the level. Put this one back on. That. Okay. sure we put this plug back in, make sure that snaps in. Okay, this one here, this over here. So make sure we hook that up to the intake. Alright, bolts are on, plug is on, that hose is on, these two hoses are on, that hose is connected. I think we're good. Let's put the intake back on there. Okay. This piece goes on here. This piece goes on here. Alright, so we got it all back together now. So basically you had to put the 4 bolts back in, hook up the hose, the breather hose, the 2 coolant hoses, put the intake pipe back on, clamp those down. Everything seems to be good at this point. Alright, and we're just going to start her up and see if that helps. I did replace this mass airflow sensor recently, see if that would help. Seemed to help a little bit, but I don't think that was the whole problem. Alright, so let's see what happens. Alright, moment of truth here. Let's fire this thing up and see how she's running. Okay, so far so good, and I got a nice smooth high idle. Alright, I'm going to let her warm up for a minute and let her get down to a normal idle, and we'll see how she reacts. Alright, so at this point we have her down to a regular idle, and what would happen is if I turn the steering wheel, the idle would just start dropping, and then come back up. So let's see what happens. Well, she's staying right where she's supposed to. Alright, so I think that may have cured that problem. Let me put it in drive. Well, everything looks good. Alright, well I'm going to call that one a success. So if you guys are having an issue with your idle stumbling, you might want to try pulling off that throttle body and just cleaning all that carbon out of there. Make sure that butterfly is clean and it can seat and have a little air gap just to let some air through at idle. And I think that should fix your problem. Alright guys, hope you liked the video. If you do, give a thumbs up, a like, a share, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.